Hey guys, today we're going to be doing a review on something a little bit different. This is the Duke Cat Perfect Grade Strike detail up parts, and they're plastic parts. So let's take a quick look at the runners here and see what we got, and then we'll get them cut out and try them on the perfect grade over here. So far not looking too bad here. See how many runners we got here. We got 1, 2 of these. 2 sets of these runners. Small set of blue here, which are obviously some chest pieces here. Then we got chrome plated parts. These ain't looking too bad. Not sure where all these go, but we'll find out soon enough. And then of course we have a little instruction manual here. Not much of one, just a printed out sheet it looks like. But it seems to show pretty well all the parts you'll be replacing. So just the one side. So let's take a quicker look at these runners and see if they, well, see how good they look. We'll start off looking at these chrome pieces, and they don't look bad. The detail looks nice on them. They have none of the chrome plating looks bad or bubbly or anything like that on it. It all looks pretty smooth and pretty nice actually. I like the way these look. Hopefully y'all can kind of see the detail here. I'm trying to move them around a little bit so that light reflecting off of there, you know, kind of makes it a little hard to film these things. Those all in all don't look bad, and they actually kind of feel like they got a little bit of weight to them. And of course we got the chest pieces here, which these don't look bad at all. I will be doing kind of a half and half when we get these cut out and I put them on the kit, so you'll see, you know, like one arm done, one leg done, half the chest done. But yeah, these are obviously a couple of chest pieces here. The detail's not too bad on these as well. It's like, these looks like they add some detail but not over the top or anything like that. And these here aren't looking too bad, pretty well printed. All looks pretty smooth. Not seeing any issues with that. This is the same thing as that one, just a double. Do see a little bit of a, see if the light can catch it, I don't know. There's a little bit of a divot in the plastic right there from the molding process, it looks like. That's, well, there it is too as well on this piece here. Hopefully y'all can pick that up. I think I got it right there, yeah. You see it right there on that part. I don't know how easy that'll be to sand out, or if we'll need to put some putty in that. Not sure. I was hoping there won't be any issues like that, because these would be pretty neat if it'd just be somebody doing a snap build, put these on their kit, add a little extra detail if they don't know how to scribe or anything. And then we got these here, like some of the skirting, which these don't look too bad at all. The figure here, he's got a sunken in chest that doesn't look so hot on that one. And these right here look a little off. Probably just a little bit of cutting and cleaning up. You got flash here on this one, but the flash isn't that big of a deal. That's easy to remove. Yeah, this has got a bit of flash back at the head here. Different V-fin. Mostly I'm only seeing flash on these parts here. That's the most problem. Then of course that figure there with the sunken in chest. Let me get these all cut out here, and I'll get half the strike here done up with these, and we'll do a side-by-side comparison and see how these look. So, be right back with you. Well, this was not exactly just a simple swap out part sort of kit here. As you can see here, these are all the tools that I ended up using just to get these parts to fit, and have to modify them just to get them placed on this guy. So this is definitely not going to be your, you know, new person, just swap out pieces sort of job. This is a fair amount of effort, especially the head, which we'll get to last. But of course, you know, you see here, got a couple different scribers. I have to use a chisel here to reshape some things, and of course some of these are just for part removal, of course, which are given. These are some old dentist tools that I typically use for dismantling my kits and everything. But we'll move those to the side here, and we will get to the actual parts themselves. We'll start with the legs and work our way up. Now, starting with the legs, Well, sorry, this back piece is replaced on here on the thighs, and if you can tell, that actually adds a little bit of width to it. It makes it a little beefier here in the back. Not much in change in the details, as you can see. There's still the opening gap here. This is the original. This is the added part. I'll try to keep all the added parts to the left-hand side. But on the side, you do see a panel line that runs up and across back through here, which is not present here on this, and also, oh wait, else if I turn it that way, you actually see the part sides. Sorry about that. But it runs down across here. And then on the back, you see there's this little bit of extra fin here, which is not much of a difference, but does add a little bit of detail to it that otherwise isn't there, of course. But that's not too bad there. Then here on the side of the legs, as you can see, this part right here is changed out. It kind of drops it down much further, gives it a much more coverage, drops it down to covering these calf parts here as well. And another part I like is the fact that seam line here on this one, the original, is taken care of by one single piece that is pinned in between these two lower halves here on the side of the calves. So that, I actually really do like that detail. That's a nice touch to this kit, I think. I like it a lot. And also on the knee here, if you notice, this is the replacement parts, and this knee part moves rather freely now. Now this one on the original does move freely as well, but with the original parts it holds things a bit snugger, a bit more tension on that, so it doesn't flop quite as much. But once you have this posed, it's really not going to be an issue once you pose it, and plus if you're painting, it's going to probably take care of that in the end anyways. But also, as you can see here, on the side of the leg, there's also this extra piece right here changed out, and it brings up and overlaps the knee armor here a bit, which doesn't sew here. You see a little bit of that detail sticking up right there, but it doesn't bring itself all the way up across. So that's another bit of detail I do like. If you do notice here also on the original part, this comes down and cuts off at a point here. And on theirs, they tried to bring it down and have it wrap around and meet up here in the front. But I did check both sets of parts, and all four of them are like this, and they're bent out. And I may or may not try and fix that, or I might just cut that off and bring it down to its point itself like it does on the original. Because what I mainly like is this fact of this part overlapping the knee armor here. Now you probably already noticed that it's a bit shiny back behind all this here. We'll bend the knee out here and kind of expose that for you. We'll go and bend this other one out so you can kind of get a look at both of these. And you can see none of the functionality of the joints or anything has been compromised or changed in any way on this. And these have some nice detail, they're real nice. But I will say with this chrome plating is one of the parts that I had a lot of issue with. So probably the parts themselves would have fit together just fine to begin with, but adding that chrome plating they did, and these have a real heft to them compared to the other runners. So I think it's added that extra thickness that I had to shade the inside of all connections, trim down some pegs, and other things. Speaking of trimming down pegs, I think it's this one, as you can see, is held down by stick tack. Hopefully you can get that in focus there. You can see where I've shaved off that top peg there, just to get that to fit into the hole. And there was another peg where that stick tack is right there that I ended up cutting off completely. It just wasn't working. It wouldn't fit properly. It's rocked back and forth. So, of course, once this is all built and when I'm done with it, this will all be glued on anyway. So it's not a big issue for me. And if you want to still use these parts or whatever, you can just use some glue on them. But that's just one of the starts of modifying these parts to fit properly. Find that hole there. But yeah, I had to use some stick tack on some of these parts just to have them on there to show y'all. You have the ankle armor here, which the only part that has changed is this front part right through here, and also it adds this extra little bit of a chrome piece here towards the bottom of the ankle. A little bit more detailed. This as well, like the thigh and the calf here, it beefs up everything a little bit, and it doesn't actually hinder any of the movement or mobility. Toes and everything, and the feet move just fine. But that's another part, is like I said, the chrome pieces, they seem to just add that extra layer when they add the chrome paint to these, and I had to shave the inside of that because it snaps into the back of this. There's a little peg. The waist section didn't have much change to it really. For the most part, it's just the front skirting and the side doors here on the side skirts for the switch blades. As you can see here, This one's just pretty much all plain, smooth. Got a couple of notches here on the side, and then some lining right in through here at the bottom of it where it opens up. But on this side, you can see there's a diamond pattern, bit of a marking there, some engraving there, and then of course the lines as well. Adds a little bit more detail, but nothing too extravagant. But I will say on this one, they are rather shallow. Mainly right here on this diamond pattern is where it's the shallowest. But the side skirt, the front skirting is quite a bit of change to it. You can see how simple and straightforward this is. This adds a bit more depth. As you can see, that's one chrome piece underneath there. That one actually fit in there pretty well, didn't have any issue with it. But you can see there, bring it up a little closer, maybe you can get it focused and get the lighting just right. Right there is another one of those little divots that I showed you, and I missed that one when I assembled it, and I didn't try to sand it out. But there are some others, if I remember where they're. Oh, they're the knee pieces actually on the legs that I showed you on the sides of the knee. They had these same divots, and I was able to sand them out just fine. Took a little bit, but it didn't take too much off, and I was able to smooth out those areas. So those little divots are not too much of a worry. Just take your time, sand them out smooth. Just make sure you keep everything flush and nice and flat. But on to the, whoops. Yeah, as you can see here, another issue I had. This will have to be glued on the end. As you can see, the pegs on this one, I didn't shave this one down at all. It's just a little bit smaller and doesn't fit as snug on this as the others did. Like there, and that peg that fits in right there. I'm just going to end up gluing this on there. And then also, this piece right up underneath here is stick tacked on, because the peg that you can see right there by the stick tack where I had to cut that peg out, it was in a conical shape. And I checked both parts and they both were about the same way. I mean, I was trying to file it down and reshape it, and finally I said to hell with it, because it's another piece that I can just simply glue in, so that won't be an issue for me in the end. And you can do the same as yourself as well. But for right now, for the sake of the review here, I'm just got these parts tacked on. So that's some of the other fitment issues I've had, but sometimes it's expected from these third-party kits. But some of these on this were pretty rough, and I would think that, you know, when they're designing these themselves, they have the actual kit itself to mock everything after. So I do find some of the fitment issues on this to be rather disappointing, personally. But for somebody like me that has all the tools and everything to do this with, it's not an issue too much for me, but it is more of a headache than I thought it was going to be. Alright, now for the arms here. I'll show you here on the side. This whole front piece right here is what's replaced. Right here where the arm separates, right here at the top of the bicep. So that still functions, everything still works just fine, and this one fit pretty well. Now of course the chrome piece up in here, I did have to do the same as the others, but that one right there is not bad at all, no issues with it. All seems to fit just fine. All still in the same place for the most part, so that one, not an issue. And it adds just not much detail, but just adds a little bit, mainly with that chrome plating and then just the spacing of how everything's set in there. And a little bit of depth detail right here. Now of course side plates here are all the same. Only thing that changed here on the forearm is this section right through here, and adds this chrome piece as well, if you can tell. Now this one I'm not so sure about if I care that much for. For one thing, the details in it are very shallow. There's a couple of raised rivet there, a little small indent rivet there. And then that's about all those changed really, is kind of the overall shape as well. But also with this, I'll show you on this arm. In the review, if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description below if you haven't checked out the review of the actual Perfect Gray Strike Gundam. You see that articulation there, and then there's this little bit more right in here that will pivot right around the base of this cuff area. And it also goes back and forth and up and down. But with the addition of this chrome piece in this part, you can bring the arm up, has the articulation there, but right here at the below the cuff here, there is no more up and down, and there's very minimal side to side like there originally was on this guy. But overall, these fit pretty well, didn't have too much of an issue, just kind of dealing with that coating on these chrome parts. So, alright, now for the shoulders, this is one of my favorite ones. at least on the changes that it makes and the details. See here, you know, we have the inner frame poking out, and that's about all you really see. Of course, what's already poking out there. But on this, you get this extra little bit of chrome detail coming out around this part, a little bit poking out here, here, and here, and a little open space right there, and a little bit more angle to it. You still have this one angle run across here on the add-on parts, but it adds a bit more depth. Now this does also come with a bit of an issue. As you can see here, these are made to open and hinge out. They snap together right there, so that's not big of a deal. But when doing this one, these are also held on by stick tack, because the way these all fit together with the extra chrome in there, when you try to use that hinge, the inner parts here all hit against the actual framing of the kit, and they do not fit properly. So instead of having that right through here fitting pretty flush, it wants to kind of poke out like that on you, about a millimeter or two. But it is the same issue with both sides, so it's just a fitment issue with how these things are, because there's nothing stopping the inside of it on the original part, so it's able to close and fit in there all the way, nice and flush like it's supposed to. But all in all, I do like the detail on this a lot. It's very nice. Now, as for the chest here, these parts, they fit pretty well, didn't have much issue, except of course the chrome parts. Having to work on that a little bit. But the main problem I have is just the kit itself, getting it apart and getting these, there's like 3 different layers of parts here for these chest pieces, and they were just a pain in the butt to get separated. But this adds some very nice detail, and I also show you a bit of what the original part looks like right here. So very nice detail, adding this nice little bit of chrome popping through here and everything, and then just the panel lines and the different layers and depth they add. I do like the chest pieces very much. I do enjoy that. But that's the one of the side panels there for the chest, and then the centerpiece that was swapped out was this one right here, and as you can see, there's a lot of extra add detail in that as well, and plus the chrome poking out through there. But these were just mainly just getting the kit itself apart. I didn't have too much issue with getting these all put together once I got them separated. But of course, it still has the functionality. You can still slide those chest pieces forward and slide them back into place just like so to begin with. So that doesn't interfere with anything on that, adding these parts. Now the head, I do enjoy some of the detail on this, but these were some of my most trouble parts. That's where the chisel, a lot of carving and everything went into. But these side pieces here for around the cheeks and around the Vulcans and everything, you can see down in there, there's a lot of extra flash sticking up, and I cleaned it up off on this side a bit, but I went ahead and left that one to kind of show y'all that that's in there you have to clean up. But the fitment on these was horrible. I had to do a lot of carving and reshaping, trying to put on, taking a look, trying to see inside there and see what was holding it up. So that took me the longest, trying to get those reshaped and redone. And these don't quite fit very flush, which I think my back piece here is a little bit warped, which is not going to be, it should be an easy fix, kind of like doing resin. I'm going to heat it up with some really hot water, not boiling, but pretty good temperature water, let it soak in that, and then it's kind of put it into place, and I'll probably like tape it or something like that, or rubber bands maybe, I'm not sure, and kind of bring that in a little bit more. But also you see that little chunk right there taken out? That's not from me not paying attention when I was cutting the pieces, because both sides were like that. They both were broke off like that from the runner originally when it got shipped to me that way. So these right here were by far the worst, trying to get fitted and reshaped and everything. But all in all, the head is resculpted pretty nicely. You got some extra nice detail, some extra detail added in on those. There's not much on these. These are just smooth, the original parts with some, you know, the dimensional shaping to it. But there's a little bit of detail running across here, a little bit here on the front of the head, and then on the cheeks here, they do have some nice detail, but these just didn't seem to print out as well as any of the other parts. And I'm not sure if I want to use these or not, but if I do use the original parts, this back piece is comes forward further. If you can see right through here, this section right through here is much thinner, than this piece. So I'm not sure, I might end up using the original parts and just add some of my own detail a little bit in the original back piece. But go ahead and use the add-on parts here for the top of the head because they fit alright. I did have to mod them. I did have to shave the pegs down on them quite a bit. Alright, so all in all, it is a third-party kit. And then they can be notorious for having fitment issues and things like that. I have built a few third parties. This overall I would say is not for a beginner. I mean, a beginner could honestly build the Strike Gundam itself, but it's just the modifying and taking the time and just figuring out what all you need to shave and reshape to get these to fit. Like I said, especially these cheek pieces. It was very interesting and rather frustrating, to be honest. But the chest, the shoulder armor, and for the legs, I do like the extra detail it adds quite a bit, and those parts I'm more than likely going to be using. But hopefully that gave y'all some idea about these. I did pick this up on Gundam Model Center. I will put a link in the description below if you are interested. I think it's only like 25 bucks, 26 bucks, something like that. But guys, I hope this informed y'all and maybe help y'all make a buying decision if y'all are interested in something like this. And until the next video, I'll talk to y'all later.